Hey Insider, just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. We've got a special guest joining us who's recently graduated from our flagship course, Life Mastery Achievers, and she'll be sharing with us in terms of her journey on board, what she found great about the experience and everything in between. So just want to say it's a pleasure to have you. Let's just start with the introductory question. What's your name, where you're currently based, and what do you currently do?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Raven. I currently live in Connecticut in the United States, and I am a social worker at the Ronald McDonald House. I work with the caregivers of children who are receiving cancer treatment.
Nice. So let's just rewind time right now, Raven. If you were to just kind of give us a glimpse of what were some of the issues and problems you were experiencing in your life prior to joining the LMA course, how was it showing up in your life and how was you experiencing it?
I think joining LMA helped me realize problems that I was experiencing that I wasn't even aware of. And so one of them that sticks out is the feeling and the story that I've told myself of being shy and
Mm,
being just a shy person, nervous to talk to other people, nervous to introduce myself to other people, nervous to speak in front of people. And that's something that I realized I had been telling myself for a long time after joining LMA. Another thing that I've always experienced for my whole life is anxiety. And it's shown up in different ways for me, and specifically like with OCD symptoms, like having obsessive thinking, rumination, intrusive thoughts, things like that, that were constantly affecting my day-to-day living, really debilitating the anxiety and the OCD especially. So those were some things that I was experiencing before coming across LMA, and also just not really having the full capacity to love myself completely.
mm. Which one of those things was, would you say, experience was impacting your life the most back then?
Definitely the anxiety. Yeah, definitely
Right.
the anxiety.
Is it like a like social anxiety or just anxiety in general?
I th- I think it's anxiety in general. I think it shows up socially. Um, but the most of it is just internal dialogue, just constant negative internal dialogue that's very fear based, that would
Mm,
just play in my head over and over and over again and really affect how I was living my life.
yeah. Well, I can definitely resonate with that. So, how was it impacting your life back then? As in, which areas of your life was it really impacting, and why was it causing a problem?
I want to say my relationship. I think my relationship with my boyfriend, my personal relationships, not necessarily friends, but more of that. I think that is where my insecurities really showed up the most, as they tend to usually do in
Mm,
romantic relationships. And the anxiety around it, the feelings of uncertainty and doubt, which come along with having OCD, I think were probably the most debilitating. And that's where I was really struggling the most. And which really in turn was the relationship with myself. I think that was the biggest one, is my relationship with myself, my inability to trust myself, my inability to make a decision or to feel certain about anything, and to love myself. Yeah.
was it something that was triggered by something you experienced in your life, or have you experienced this most of your life?
I've since I was a kid, since I was really young, I remember just being very fearful. So I mean, I've done a lot of work to see where that comes from, and I think it just comes from even just into conception and being in the womb,
Mm,
and then coming out. So I think a lot of it
okay.
was from that, and I think, yeah, the reason that I joined, one of the biggest reasons I joined LMA, Tim, was your story. I mean, the
Mm,
first time I heard it, I just like started crying. It resonated so deeply with experiences that I had growing up with racist bullying as well. And it was
right.
only through the work that I've done that I realize how much that has impacted me throughout my life. I had no idea that experiences that I had when I was really young in regards to that was really affecting me up until this day.
Mm, okay. So, what was you trying to do, Raven, back then to try and cope? What were your coping strategies, tools, and tactics? Where was you going for help and so forth?
I didn't really start seeking help for this kind of thing or really have any awareness of it until I was in probably college. aged years. And then so I've been through therapy, like different therapists. I've done worked with different organizations doing different types of inner work, different types of spiritual healing.
Mm.
So I've done all these different things, and it's all is what brought me to LMA and has really carried me along my journey of sorting out all the stuff that I had
Okay.
inside that I didn't even know was there.
Okay. So do you recall when you came across our work for the first time?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was very recent. It was in December.
Okay.
I once school was done and I passed my licensing exam, I found myself having more free time, and I was back on YouTube listening to Eckhart Tolle, and all of a
Mm.
sudden your ad pops up, and I never listened to the ads. Usually once the allotted like 10 seconds, I'm like, okay, get me back to where I was. But like so many have said, yours captivated me. And I think I saw someone who looked like me, which was really big, I think, in the field, at least in my experience in this field. I haven't seen many people who look like me. And
Mm.
it's been a lot of like white males. So to see someone who looked like me meant a lot. And all of a sudden I'm watching your whole ad and then attending your live info session webinar. And um, crying from your story. Everything you were saying was resonating with me. And before I knew it, I just like had my credit card and I'm signing up for LMA just, what is it, like 2 months ago, I think.
Okay. So you was pretty much captivated by the ad you're saying, and that invited you to the free masterclass you sat on with us virtually online. So
Mhm.
when you were sat on that free masterclass and eventually, offered the chance to join the LMA course, if you were to be honest with us, what would you say was probably the biggest doubts or fears you had, and what ended up putting that to rest for you? Because of course, and in the end, you end up actually joining.
Yeah. um, well, money's a big thing for me. And so the fact that you talked about it in the masterclass, like it was hitting me, like the circulation part really hit me, like and hit a deep deep seed inside me. And I think that helped me overcome the resistance that I was feeling, the mental talk that I was having from the survival brain. And I I don't know, it really just, the more I listened, I just kind of led with my heart and didn't listen to this for like the first time and ended up just signing up. But I think in the past, I've always been a pretty skeptical person. And so I do my research. And so before signing up, I did tons of research. I mean, like I would Google your name, I would Google, I
Mm.
couldn't find a lot about you personally, which
Yeah,
I think is pretty cool.
there's a
But
lot
I
out
listened,
there.
listened to a lot of testimonials as well.
Okay. Am I right in saying you've got an Asian background?
Yeah, yeah. My dad's from Hong Kong, but my other half is white. My mom is American. She's a
Ah, so it's infusion.
yeah.
Ah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, the reason I'm asking, I mean, typically, I suppose the Asian culture, quite skeptical in nature as well. Very skeptical in nature. So I suppose that's totally understandable. So you was researching a lot, Googling everything to with Tim Han and Success Insider, and
Yeah, and
eventually,
definitely the scarcity mindset comes, yeah, comes from
okay.
that side as well.
So eventually, of course, you end up taking that leap and you join us on board LMA.
Mhm.
What would you say initially made you feel the happiest about getting involved with our work? What made you feel the happiest?
The first thing that comes up is the community. I mean, I was in awe of how large the community was, how active the community was. I've done different things before where the community was not nearly as large, not nearly as active, and not nearly as diverse as LMA is. And I think that was incredible to me. That was so awesome that a community that you've created exists in the world, in this world, and the support and the encouragement and everything. I mean, that was truly, I think the community makes a huge difference in this kind of work.
Mm. So community made you feel really happy. And you're saying essentially, what would you say that specifically really did for you? Having the community by your side.
I think it encouraged me. I think it helped me see parts of myself that I wasn't used to seeing. I
Mm.
think like being so critical and so hard on myself, it was always like, where can I improve? What can I do better? But to be able to have parts of me that other people are seeing reflected back to me,
Mm.
made a huge difference for me in terms of inner work.
Yeah. So in terms of the LMA methodology, the 6 week journey, Raven, which particular module would you say you found the most profound or had the biggest benefit on your life, and why specifically?
They were they were all so great, but as soon as you started asking this question, the first thing that comes up was the second week. And specifically the 6 layer of emotion letter. I've written so many letters. I've gone back to that so many times in the different weeks that I was in. I would find myself going back and writing that letter and really just working the process and like releasing all of the emotions and things that were inside. And so I think that sticks out to me the most. I'd have to say that was probably the most impactful for me.
Literally heard the same from a member I interviewed yesterday, that letter. Was it somebody you wrote it to that really just allowed you to let go, or what ended up happening?
Yeah, the process for me, and I think reading it out loud on live,
Mm,
I had practiced being vulnerable in front of people before, and that really helped set the stage for when I was doing the live videos for LMA, and I was able to like allow myself to be vulnerable and cry. And specifically when I wrote it to my parents, there was a lot in there, and I found as I was writing through each step, like it was hitting a different point, and it ends on such a nice note too of like love and acceptance and forgiveness. And when I was doing it to my parents, when I was ready to do it, I did it and I read it out loud. And I didn't know all those things were still inside after all the work I had done. I still had a lot of stuff that letter helped me get out.
nice. In terms of the LMA course, just overall, what would you say, Raven, exceeded your expectations? Since when we're starting a journey, we tend to normally kind of assume what it might be like. What would you say exceeded your expectations?
I want to say again, the community and also the participation of the Success Insider team. So your participation in the community, Alice's participation in the community, and really feeling closer to you and to the team as a whole, I think made a big difference for me because sometimes in the past, I've felt more separated from the teacher, from the
Mm,
speaker, whoever it was. And so having that, feeling more connected to you and to the community and to the organization and the business as a whole, I think really really exceeded my expectations.
okay, nice. And now, having, of course, graduated and having gone through the entire course, what would you say has been like the biggest change or benefit that you have experienced in your life?
Definitely more self-awareness, having more tools to lean on. Because you go through this process of unlearning things that you've learned and
Mhm.
relearning tools that will really have helped me grow into the person that I want to become. And I think, yeah, just having the tools and the awareness now and words to put to certain things has really helped. And I've seen um, I see myself having more self-awareness that's really contributing to my growth.
Okay, nice. Is there any like specific self-awareness that really has stood out to you and has made a big impact? I know we've
Several of
shared
the
a lot.
sorry, what?
I know we've shared a lot of different
I
self-awareness.
know, I know. Um, I think the money one comes up a lot. Like the circulation of money will be in the forefront of my mind. Same with like keeping commitments that I make to myself that was shared in week one.
Mm,
Week 6 was awesome, and I'm still just working on integrating that. But
nice.
just having different levels of awareness of myself and where I'm coming from and the questions that I'm asking myself and the self-talk that I have and this idea of like the past self and the future self and my current self. I mean, yeah, there's so many, but those have helped me build awareness, I would say.
Okay, awesome. So having now, I suppose, gone through this journey, what would you recommend, or how would you answer back to this question? Somebody watching this video right now may be considering joining the LMA course, and perhaps they are feeling a little bit skeptical themselves, which is very natural. So, what would you advise, having now gone through this process, for somebody sitting on the edge? What would you pretty much recommend them?
This has come across your life for some reason. And you have the choice to decide whether you're ready or not to commit to your growth. And you really have to want to be ready to commit to your growth, and also learn that it's not going to be easy, and it's not just going to be a miracle that happens and suddenly you're just feeling great. I mean, maybe that can happen. That didn't happen for me. But I mean, you'll feel it. If you feel that you're really ready and you're really ready to commit, then just do it, because it's so worth it. And it may be challenging and it may be tough, and it will be sometimes, but LMA has the community and the tools to really like bring you through those dark places so that you're not alone. And that is an amazing thing to have in this world, that you don't have to do your inner work alone. You can do it alongside people who are also doing their own inner work. And that is why, if you're having any hesitation at all, be curious about it. Why are you having this hesitation? Why are you having this resistance? And just take a leap of faith, because that's what it takes to make a change.
Okay. Raven, just want to say, firstly, thanks so much for your time today. And thank you so much for your kind words and, of course, your commitment towards, journeying with us. But this certainly is not the end. It's just a new beginning. So let's just keep going strong. Yeah. Cool. And the rest of you, just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, follow your heart and take action. And let's create the life you're truly born to live.